Hi there again, Izzy from DigitalGoja.com showrooms. Today we're going to take a look at how to troubleshoot triggers. I've seen some questions posted on forums and on a lot of the blogs on both Amazon and eBay and DigitalGoja.com about customers that are confused about how to set up a trigger. Let's take a close look and see what the troubleshooting tips are for Altura Photo's wireless trigger set. Again, if this video helps you out, always remember to hit me up with a like button underneath and subscribe to our channel for future tutorials and sessions such as this. As always, any questions or comments, place them below. And don't forget, whenever in Miami, come visit me at DigitalGoja.com showrooms. Now we're going to set this up to work two flashes with a very popular camera. This is the Canon Rebel T6i. This again will work with any Canon camera that is out there, because when we are working with these guys, everything has to be set to manual. Yes, you heard it right. These triggers create a radio frequency, but they don't transmit any TTL information. So when you go to use your strobe, your flashes can basically be any flash out on the market. Now this one happens to be the Altura ETTL flash for Canon, and here I have an Altura Photo. This is their new high power 958X flash for Canon also. Again, you can use any strobe on here. It could be original Canon strobes, it could be other manufacturer strobes, it could be fully manual strobes. But the reason I'm using these, they tend to sell these in kits, and most of the kits are set up with the more popular ETTL flashes. Now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our Rebel, and we're going to go to our command dial, and we're going to set it to the letter M for manual. Yes, I did mean manual. You have to set your exposure. I mean, we're doing wireless flash. Wireless flash, if you're going to work with radio frequency triggers such as these guys right here, you have to have it set to manual to get the best exposure control possible. Now, next thing we're going to do is, remember, this is our transmitter. This is the one that has the contacts for the hot shoe. So this guy is going to be placed on top as if it was a strobe, and lock it. Notice that it has that little knurled knob there. Turn it, not super tight, but tight enough so that this guy doesn't come flying off. Now it's ready to go. Now, we're gonna get one of our strobes. I'm gonna get this guy first. I'm going to remove it off of the supplied stand, and I'm gonna place one of the transmitters onto the stand now as if this was a flash. Again, it slides right on, and you're gonna turn the knob here so that we have it on there. Again, not super tight, but tight enough so it doesn't come flying off. And now I'm going to place the Altura flash onto this as if this was the camera. And again, go to the same procedure. Lock it in place. Again, tight enough so that this doesn't go flying off. All right, so this guy's set. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this other flash. This one is a 958X. Slide it on, turn it, that locks it in place. Again, tight enough so that doesn't fly off, but not too tight. And now we're going to place the flash on here as if this was the camera, straight on. And this guy has a very unique locking system. They made it simple. Just flip it over and that locks it in place. So now these two guys are ready to be controlled, sort of. You now have to activate your strobe. So start off with this guy. You're going to turn it on, and the default is always TTL. Now this is great if you're using it on the camera, but since we're putting it on a radio frequency trigger that doesn't transfer TTL information, if you leave it on this mode, this sucker is going to shoot at full power every single time. So if, for example, you're working at a great distance and this is your main light source, go ahead, go for it. But here's the thing, I prefer setting it to manual, hit the mode button till you get to the M, and then you set the power ratio. So I can switch it all the way down to 1/128th power, or I can make it to full power. This allows you to do most of your control. So I set it to 1/16 power because I'm going to be using 2 strobes. So that guy is ready to go. And very important, notice how you have 3 settings right here. Notice the 3 settings. You want to set it to flash. Boom, it fires off. This is saying that it is now synchronized and firing and getting a signal to your strobe. Second flash. All right, same thing. This guy, you hold it for a little bit. That activates it. Now this guy I was already using on manual, so notice how I have this one set 1:1. So this one's going to be at a further distance from my subject matter. It's ready to go. And again, we go to the 3 switches that are here, and we want to switch it to flash. All right, so now this guy's ready for flash. Now both of these guys are ready to be controlled by this guy. So now, rule of thumb, and I always start out with that, especially if you're not working with a flash meter, is first of all, I've noticed that Canon tends to work really well at 1/125th of a second for flash sync. So I'm going to set it to 1/125th, and you'll notice that that's a designation right on the back. Notice how I changed it with my command dial, and I set it to 1/125th of a second. That's the flash sync speed that I've noticed works really well with Canon cameras. And then you set your aperture according to the distance that you're working from. All right, so for example, now everything is set to go. So when I fire here, boom, your flashes are going to fire off. And again, you're going to have to look at your exposure on your camera and see whether you have the correct exposure or not. If it's too bright, then again, close down on your f-stop. And remember, on Rebel cameras, you have to hold the AV button and then switch with the command dial. So if it's too bright, you have to pick a larger number. It's closing down on your aperture. That's the way to do it directly from the camera. Now, if you want to change the power on the flashes, remember, this does not transmit any information from the camera to the flash, so you physically have to go over to the flash and then you change the power ratio. So I can go ahead here and switch it from 1:1 ratio and cut it down to maybe 1/8 because it's giving off too much light, and then try it again, fire off. That way you have a basis so that you can start setting up your strobes correctly and do some incredible wireless flash photography. Happy shooting!